Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Crystal and this is Books Forever After, where I sit on my floor and we talk about everything and all things books. So today is a collab video for the romance readathon, and this idea came from B from Mama Needs to Read Romance, and I will link her channel down below as long as her videos as well. I think also Autumn from Notes in a Book is doing this collab video for the readathon, so yeah, I will link everything down below. I am really excited to talk about this one. So this one B came up with doing in honor of the romance readathon, and historical romance is really the primary theme for this readathon, is to do our top 10 historical romance and do this collab. So as you can recall, I do have a video and I will link that down below as well. When I first started my channel about a year ago, I think I posted this one about 7 months ago, but I did my favorite historical romances before BookTube, and as this is my first year in BookTube, first anniversary, yeah, I think it's been a year now, we'll have a little updated list for you now. So some of these you probably have seen already if you've seen that video, but I do have an updated list, and maybe a few more, maybe 3 or 4 have been changed. So yeah, we'll get started. Okay, all right, so I will go and let me see. Okay, in no particular order, because to be honest, it's already hard enough to rate these, to limit these down to 10, let alone trying to rank these. Please don't ask that of me. I love these all dearly with my heart and soul, and I just can't. They're all my children, and I just like my real children. I can't choose between them. So, okay, so here we go. So the first one I think has one of been the oldest favorites of mine and really got me into it was Bridgerton. But hear me out. I first read this in high school, so that was been way before Bridgerton has blown up now with the Bridgerton show, which is great, and I love that. And it's totally, my opinion, it's a totally separate kind of medias, and I'm sad that some of the direction they have chosen to not reflect the books, but that's probably going to be my feeling for any kind of movie or TV show for adaptation, but that's beside the point. So this was actually my first book that I read, and it's actually out of order because I didn't, you know, this is part of, this was before you had the internet. I'm dating myself. You had the old library cards, and you had to go by like what was in the book to know what else is in that series, unless it's at the end of the book and tells you, oh, this is the next book in the series. So yeah, it was around those time periods. So I'm not that old, but I'm not going to say how old I am. So there you go. Anyway, I will cease the suspense now. Is An Offer from a Gentleman by Julia Quinn. So this is I had checked this one out, like this whole series out like multiple times from, and especially this one, from the library so many times that I decided in college just to buy the whole 8 series, and just that way I could reread. And I had read them almost every year, so since then. So as you can tell, it's very well loved. And this is my copy that I read. So yeah, and I recently picked up and found this at a library sale, is this copy. Unfortunately, it is not the step back copy, and I am searching so far and wide for those copies, the step back. So, but it does have the nice little character insert there on the spine. So yeah. So what I love about this is, you know, it kind of fills that child like Disney-like thing in me, and it's a Cinderella retelling, if you can't tell by the cover, and I think it's actually what drew me into the cover, because I read like the hardcover version, you know, the libraries get. But yeah, so, you know, Benedict and Sophia will always remain in my heart, and it's got also my love of masked balls, kind of like masquerades in my heart. Those premise that I love, or tropes, so to speak. But yeah, so Benedict and Sophia, it's a classic Cinderella retelling, and it's done so well, so good banter, and yeah, so it's my favorite, and it's a favorite for the reason. And this really fits into Sophia attends the ball, meets Sam. She's a mysterious silver lady, and then he doesn't see her again for 2 years later when she shows up and meets him again as a maid. So, and she's a different walk of life at that time. So very good. And of course he just wants her to become his mistress. So, and he's battling with his love, true love for Sophia and this mysterious woman. So yeah, I might edit it out because I don't want to think that's a spoiler, so I'll check the tropes. I'll check the blurb to make sure that's not a spoiler. But yeah, love this. Always hold special, near and dear in my heart. One of my very after Johanna and Lindsey, one of my very first romances that I read. Next in that series, so number 2 here is, this is probably like number 7 or 6, I don't know. But this was when he was Wicked. I think this is very popular as well as people's favorites. This is Francesca's romance. This is kind of like a second chance widow romance. And I think that really what's the cherry on top is the pining from the hero. It's top tier. So yeah, it's a favorite of mine for a reason. And yeah, it's, I think of all of the series and the Bridgerton one, this is probably the steamiest one of them all. So I'm just saying, in that table scene, I'm just saying. Okay. I'm a hot mess over here, guys. It's fine. All right. And this one is, as you know, you've seen, this is like the second book in the series, and this is the second season of Bridgerton. This is the Viscount Who Loved Me, and Viscount, I don't know how I'm supposed to say it correctly, but yeah, as we know, this is between Kate and Anthony. I think this was the second one I read after An Offer from a Gentleman, so I love the banter and like the hate to love aspect in this, and the protectiveness that she had of her sister and their relationship as sisters, which unfortunately I don't think is portrayed well enough or did a disservice to that relationship in the TV show series. But yes, definitely one of my top favorites of the series. And then third and lastly of that series is my favorite, and the third book in this list is To Sir Philip with Love. This is Eloise and Philip's romance, and I know you guys haven't gotten to that yet, but I actually will probably, what I usually do is I will reread, because of the Bridgerton, I will reread those books. So I'm probably going to reread An Offer from a Gentleman and Penelope's book before that, even though that wasn't my favorite book, or I have a feeling season, so we'll see how that goes. So before that third season comes out of their book, which is going out of order, and that is really irritating to myself as the reader and lover of these books. So it's like, it's supposed to be Benedict and Sophia's romance next, but you know, whatever, it's fine. It's fine. No aggravation there at all. It's fine. No. Okay. Well, yes, so he's a widower with 2 twins, and this is what I really liked about this, is like their relationship started as like between like correspondence letters back and forth. So this part I thought was like really sweet, and it's also, you know, this is what they say about those intellectual men is he's got a little dirty, you know. So yeah, he's intriguing. So yeah, that's what I liked about this one as well, is he's an interesting character, and he's yeah, it got a little spicy in there. So not as spicy as when he's wicked, but it's there. All right, so next is an all-time favorite, and I said this one before, as I've many of these before. But I did not realize when I joined BookTube, which is like the most heartwarming thing to discover, is that you were not alone. We're not alone in loving a book and finding out that this is everyone else's like long-time, all-time favorites in historical romance, which just warms my heart and soul. That's all I have to say. Is Again the Magic by Lisa Kleypas. So I have this copy, which is, I don't think they have stepbacks. Unfortunately, they don't have stepbacks, but I'm looking for those ones as well. But Lisa Kleypas, Again the Magic. It's like the prequel to like the Wallflower series. It's really, you don't need to read those in order, but it's still my all-time favorite. So near and dear. Second chance, the angst in here, the pining, the tension. Like, he hates her only because she hurt him, and it's just like that, like there's a fine line in here, you can tell, between hate and love. It's like, okay, so sorry. It's just so good, so good. So if you haven't read it, you need to. Oh, it's just so good. So yes, so I'll put a little rundown. She is the Earl's daughter, and they have been childhood friends. He is the stable boy, and he grows up into, I think, the footman, or he still is the stable boy when they're 18, and he's like 18, 20, whatever. So when they grow into 18-year-old, that's when their friendship kind of morphs into love, and they become lovers-ish. I don't think they actually come together in that way, but so her father comes out, and her father is not a very nice man at all, and he threatens the hero's life, and so she is forced to break it off with him and make him believe that she only saw him as a plaything, and like she's over him kind of thing, like she was using him. So she breaks his heart. He goes and leaves to become I don't want to say what the word is, but anyway, he becomes like a apprentice to somebody in like the ship docking area. So he goes to America, and then he comes back when her brother is the Earl, and he is actually very more open-minded and welcoming to more industrial and innovation ideas and things like that, especially for people from America and that whole thing. So he invites them over for like a business deal. So I think his name is McKenna. He has made himself like a self-made man, and he's back, and he knows he's coming back there, and he kind of wants to get his revenge back on her by making, I think, her fall in love with him and then breaking it off or something like that. So yeah, so it's the very possessiveness and pursuit of her, the whole seducing thing is great. However, when he comes back, that she's still not married, and she has always loved him, and she's also is holding a secret. So the representation here is great. There is a very couple interesting scenes, which made it really lovely as well. So some steamy scenes. So but yeah, it's just their connection and everything. It's what makes this book, and that's why I love it. So the banter, everything, it's a perfect book. It really is a perfect historical romance. So there we go. Again, The Magic by Lindsey Kleypas. Just perfect. All right, and next is one that has been a long time favorite of mine, and I think it is still highly underrated, and I am wanting everyone I can meet to read this book. I'm like, please, somebody else read it and let me know if you like it too. Let me know I'm not alone. But this is a Western romance, and I know I'm not a fan of Western romances enough, but it's actually, I don't know, there's something comforting about this, and it kind of gives me the same feelings as all these other books. But this is True Love by Millie Criswell. She's not very much of a well-known author, and obviously this is before internet time, so she also doesn't have much ratings on Goodreads. So yeah, I think she has other similar Western romances. I know she also wrote contemporary rom-coms, but I think historical romances are where that. I haven't read anything else by her, but I definitely want to. But they're just so hard to find. The only way to get them is, I think, buying it off of Amazon or finding it on eBay or something. It's the only way, I think, to find and read it. So I'm looking forward to trying to find another book by her. I found this in a thrift store back in my hometown a long time ago, so I'm randomly being able to find that. But this is following Emily Jean Bartlett. This is set in, the Western time, so it's more of the golden age kind of era, late 1800s. And it also follows Jess Murdoch, and he's known as the Legend of the West. So Emily Jean Bartlett is a novelist, and she writes under a pen name, and she writes a lot of those dime novels that were really popular during that period. And she endeavors herself to try to find, to go to Montana, where Jess Murdoch is, and True Love, Montana. And that's kind of the name of the book here. And she goes there to get his story and to try to write as a dime novel there. And Jess Murdoch is known as Legend of the West because she's like a sharpshooter in like the Buffalo Bill, kind of like Annie Oakley kind of theme era there. However, he has a tragic past, and he wants to keep his privacy alone and just being able to raise his 8-year-old son. So he is a single dad. He is a widower-ish. Oh, yeah, he's a single dad. This is a Grumpy Sunshine, and it has a little bit of a underlying suspense theme as well. So it's a little bit of like a subplot, but their romance is like what really does it. There's a little bit of extra drama as well, but it's just a very family, I want to say found family, but because they're all not related, but just a very found family feeling, and I loved it. And the banter back and forth, and it's just great. She's a very strong heroine, and regardless of what Jess tries to do, she's just, she's very stubborn, just like he's very stubborn, and that is just, they kind of match that way. Yeah, so she just shows up at his house. And she kind of lies her way into getting there, so it's very sweetly, but yeah, it's a great book, and it has a little bit of a Christmas theme as well. There's a Christmas scene in here as well, so it could be read in December, but I basically reread this anytime I want a comfort read, and just please somebody else read this too, please. Right, I love this. All right, next I have Remembrance by Jude Deveraux. I still mentioned this one in my before booktube one, and yes, it's not perfect, but it's still perfectly for me, and I haven't found anything that gives me the feeling as much as this one. This has also started my love of past lives, like past lives, time traveling kind of thing. So this is a past lives one, where she gets hypnotized and kind of goes back to kind of solve her family curse that she has. She shows up in like Regency England, and then gets hypnotized and shows up back into medieval times, and that's the majority of it, where you follow them as kids in the beginning, the origin story of their love and their first life. And this is just so good. The only drawback that I have to this is that at the end it felt the pacing was rushed. It's like the author was like, okay, this was feeling drawn out and wanting to quickly resolve it, where she could have still kind of, I don't know if maybe her editor was kind of forcing her that or something, but it just felt rushed. So this follows in like the modern day. The main character is a historical romance author, modern day author there, and yeah, she time travels and finds out she becomes obsessed with one of her characters that she's developing, and she's just so obsessed with him, and she doesn't know why. She becomes totally disinterested in her crummy, fiance, and just totally obsessed with that, and so much that she becomes friends with to find it. I can't remember how she finds out, but finding out like she has cursed or something like that. So yeah, so definitely a favorite of mine. I reread this, I think, during the pandemic, and I just absolutely love it. So yeah, definitely love it. And I know, if you want a past lives romance, I recommend this so much. I love it. There's not much spice in here at all. There's maybe one scene, but really, because it's such a story about their story, and I think that's why I love it so much. Is like, it doesn't need, if you're looking for that, it doesn't really need the steam part or the spicy part, but it's still satisfying because there's still that tension and pining and angst. So definitely love, and I highly recommend, as I do all of these, of course. Okay, the last three that I have are all recent ones that have been graduated to my all-time faves and top 10. So definitely recommend. So I will go to, okay, so this one I read beginning of this year, and this is The Day of the Duchess by Scandal and Scoundrel series by Sarah McLean, and this was part of my historical romance jar that I did to draw an author to kind of reach from my physical TBR to discover, these books. And it's a second chance. It has a trigger, so just be aware of that. But because they really do go through some grief and things like that. But yeah, this is the couple from the first book in the series. That's why I recommend you do this one. You do kind of read the first one because it gets their backstory, some more context. I don't think you need, you could read this one, you know, you can do what you want, but I do recommend you read the first one at least if you want to jump to this one, and skip the second one. But yeah, at least read the first one to get the context, but it's just great. So her sister, she's pregnant at the time, and her husband is discovered in like the orangery or whatever, that orangery, like the garden, whatever it is, and he's found cheating on her with someone else. That creates some tension, some whatever. Her sister has been kind of outcast, which kind of starts her story in the first one, as she kind of pushes this hero down into the garden, and you know, when she discovers him because he's being a royal, you know, a-hole. So but yeah, so this, I don't know, this book just has a lot of, there's groveling, let's just say. That's why it makes it so worth it, because it's just so heartbreaking. But she shows up at a parliament session to request her divorce from her husband, and it's like some great dramatic opening, you know, a woman being there, you know, allowed to be there, and she goes back to his office, and they agree that he agrees that he will give her a divorce if she finds her replacement wife. And so for her to do that, she sets up a house party, so it has the house party trope, for eligible ladies to be her replacement. However, the husband, who has been searching for her for the 2 years that they have been estranged because she left him, has no intention of going through with it and marrying anyone else. This is his big entree into trying to ensure that he gets her back. And so there's a lot of groveling, a lot of angst, there's a lot of communication that happens, because, you know, I think it's also part of it is knowing that you had to have those discussions and realize the communication that happens, but the miscommunication that happens, and you resolve it, and kind of a thing, and realizing and going and talking through those issues. So it's very, I think, mature in that aspect, and I loved it. There's still fun banter. Her sisters are great, and that's what also I loved about it, is her sisters actually come to the house party, kind of help support her, and that's just great. So those relationships, it's wonderful. If you want an actual like sweeping romantic book feeling, with all the lovely banter, yes, I did not shed a tear, but I came close. So I highly recommend. I just love this one. Next, I have Gentle Rogue, which is the third book in Johanna Lindsey's, and this copy here is like a special re-release reprint edition. This is like Johanna Lindsey's Blood book. They did this when, and Sarah McLean actually has like a little sweet forward in here, but this was the reprint when I guess Johanna Lindsey passed away, I think before 2020. I think this was published in 2020. So I just love this cover. This is a pirate romance. For this readathon, Hoyden, because she kind of dresses up like a cabin boy, and he knows she's a cabin boy, and it kind of, if you read the one before, you kind of get additional context. So that's why I still recommend reading these in order. You don't really necessarily need to. You still, but it's a lot of it. At the same time, you kind of need to, because the family aspect of the Mallorys and the Andersons, you kind of need that. You kind of need that context just a little bit. The other thing here as well is not all of the books in the series are great. Some of them are little misses, because sometimes they are focusing too much on the family aspect and not enough on the romance, and kind of vice versa. But at the same time, I think as we're going through the series with this year-long read along that I'm doing with April, is you can see the progression of Johanna Lindsey's writing, and how it gets better. Like, I think the first two ones I was like, this is rough, but you can definitely tell the differences in her writing, and also kind of the differences in how romance is during that time that she's writing. So how romance has changed over the years as well. So which is great to see. So right now, yeah, so just Gentle Rogue. So yeah, I think we're coming up on the 8th one. We kind of skipped the 6th book, the Christmas one, but this one was 5 stars. and it was such a great one. I will link our live discussing this one down below. But yeah, we've been having these read-alongs the last Sunday in the month, and it's been really fun. So, and April has been really great. We have really great discussions, and I just love her perspective on books as well. So yes, if you're not following April, please go ahead and please follow her. And lastly, okay, as I said before, I feel like I have a black soul. Meaning it's like, I don't really, a cold and dark soul. I really don't cry over books. I just don't. But this one, again, like I said, I kind of had a little bit of watery. A tear did not fall, but it came close, okay? I do have a heart after all, okay? But this was what I loved about this Tessa Dare summer read-along that was done by B as well, with Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sing, Tiffany, and Samantha and Ava, and I will link their channel down below. But Any Duchess Will Do by Tessa Dare. This is part of that read-along, and I forget, I think which one this one is from. I can't remember, but yeah, this was just great. This was My Fair Lady vibes, like, to the max, and I loved it. And it had all the fun banter that Tessa Dare is great on, that fun witty banter and the snappiness of it. But there's so great, she's also so great on the emotional connection that, yes, it's light and fun, but it's also emotional and deep. And like for this hero, like, he has a sad background, like a deep background, and he's actually that Duke that we learned about in A Week to Be Wicked, where he had that little party and he was being, you know, completely douche there. And you see him like a year later totally here as well. So this is just great, and I'm probably poorly not even explaining this, but yeah, I highly recommend. So it's like a rags to riches, it's a class difference, it's My Fair Lady vibes, and there is a very dark, like, I don't know, it's just great. And the connection, also the relationship between him and his mother, and it's not like this weird, you know, a man and his mother kind of, you know, they didn't break the umbilical cord kind of thing. No, it's actually like a very loving relationship here shown, and so, and the evolution of that, and how that grows as a man becomes older and such like that. And it was really nice, and a new favorite. Just a new favorite. Tessa Dare in general has just become one of my ultimate authors that I can't wait to read more of her backlist. All right, so that is it. I am so sorry. This I rambled a little bit, so this is a long video, but that's okay. So I will link B and Autumn and anybody else who else to our collab. I'm sure we'll have a creative playlist of this as well. I'll link them down below, but please go follow them if you haven't already. And yeah, this was so great. Just if you would like to comment, go ahead and comment your favorite all-time historical romance book. And if you don't want to comment anything, if you like to just put a book emoji down below, or like a stack of book emojis down below, just to say, hey, you were here. And also, if you like to like and subscribe, so you can see more comments. If you like this video, please like, and if you like to subscribe and see more videos from me, please go ahead and do so. And then other than that, thank you for watching, and I am just so excited. I'm sure I'll have more historical romance recommendations to follow here soon. So yeah, this has been really fun, and thanks B for this collab. This was great. All right, and that is it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.